A typical sunny afternoon at the zoo turned dramatic when a lynx escaped its enclosure and leaped toward a great blue heron by the water's edge. Gasps filled the air, but what happened next left everyone completely stunned. The zoo was bustling with visitors, all eagerly exploring the various exhibits. Families strolled through the pathways, children tugging at their parents' hands to see the next animal. Laughter and excited chatter filled the air, blending with the distant calls of exotic creatures. It was a perfect day for a zoo visit, the sun casting a warm glow on happy faces, unaware of any potential dangers lurking. In the newly renovated aviary, the great blue heron, proud and elegant, surveyed its surroundings. It stood tall on a perch, its long legs adding to its majestic silhouette. The bird's keen eyes scanned the environment, taking in the lush greenery and the shallow pond below. Its feathers, a mix of blue and grey, seemed to shimmer under the sunlight. The heron exuded a sense of calm and grace. Unbeknownst to the visitors, the zoo had recently introduced a rare and majestic lynx to the adjacent enclosure. The sleek, muscular predator was a sight to behold, with its tufted ears and piercing eyes. It moved with a blend of grace and power, drawing admiration from the zookeepers. This new addition was intended to attract more visitors, showcasing the beauty and ferocity of the wild, yet lurking close by. The heron seemed relaxed as it waded through the shallow pond, its feathers shimmering in the sunlight. Each step was deliberate, its long neck curving gracefully as it dipped its beak into the water. Fish darted away from its movements, the bird's calm demeanour a stark contrast to the bustling human activity around. The heron's elegance was captivating, making it a favourite among the visitors snapping photos. The zoo staff were on high alert though, ever since the lynx had exhibited signs of unusual behaviour. The big cat seemed restless, pacing its enclosure more frequently and eyeing the aviary intently. This behaviour hadn't gone unnoticed by the keen-eyed zookeepers. Whispered conversations among the staff conveyed their concerns as they kept a closer watch on the lynx, ready to act if the situation escalated. Word spread quickly among the zoo staff that the lynx had been pacing in its enclosure, eyes fixed on the aviary. Radios buzzed with updates and concerned glances were exchanged. "It hasn't taken its eyes off the birds," one keeper remarked nervously. The staff knew that the predator's intense focus could spell trouble, spurring them to monitor the situation more closely and ensure visitor safety. Visitors at the zoo couldn't help but notice the growing tension among the staff. Conversations hushed as people observed zookeepers moving with a sense of urgency. "Something's going on," a man remarked to his wife, both watching curiously. The previously relaxed atmosphere grew slightly uneasy as more people began to sense that something unusual was happening. Children remained oblivious, continuing to enjoy the sights and sounds around them. Nicole, one of the junior zookeepers, was tasked with keeping a close watch on the lynx. Armed with a radio and a determined expression, she monitored the predator's every move. "How's it looking?" came a voice over her radio. "Still pacing," Nicole replied, eyes never leaving the lynx. She knew the importance of her role, realizing that understanding the lynx's behavior could prevent a potential disaster. She noticed the intensity in the lynx's eyes and felt a shiver run down her spine. The animal's laser-focused attention on the aviary made her uneasy. "It's watching the birds," she whispered into her radio, her voice tight with concern. The predator seemed to be calculating, each step deliberate. Nicole clenched her fists, steeling herself for whatever actions might be necessary to safeguard the heron and ensure visitor safety. Meanwhile, families gathered around the aviary, snapping pictures and blissfully unaware of the potential danger. Children laughed and pointed at the birds, while parents adjusted the settings on their cameras. The great blue heron stood tall, a picture-perfect moment waiting to be captured. No one noticed the lynx pacing in its enclosure, eyes locked onto its prey. The casual atmosphere gave a sense of safety, completely oblivious to the looming threat. Discussions among the staff were becoming more urgent as they considered different precautions. "We need a plan," Karen said, glancing at Nicole. This can't go wrong. Nicole nodded, her eyes darting around the room. A temporary barrier might work, she suggested. It's risky, but better than nothing. The senior staff exchanged worried glances, knowing they had limited time. Every second counted, and they could feel the pressure mounting. A loud commotion drew the visitors' attention away from the heron. Families turned, some gasping as the noise echoed through the zoo. "What was that?" a man asked, gripping his daughter's hand. Children clung to their parents, eyes wide with curiosity and fear. Whispers filled the air as everyone tried to figure out what had happened. The carefree atmosphere shifted abruptly, and a sense of unease settled over the crowd. Zookeepers were seen rushing about, murmuring into their radios. "We have a situation," one of them said urgently. "Contain the lynx immediately." Others quickly scattered, their faces grim with determination. In the midst of the chaos, Nicole kept her eyes on the lynx enclosure, heart pounding. Radios crackled with fragmented messages as staff hurried to secure the area. The tension was palpable, and every employee knew the stakes were high. Nicole was summoned to a meeting with the senior staff and the zoo director, John. "We need to act now," John said, his voice tense. "The lynx is agitated." Nicole nodded, pulling out a chair. "I agree," she replied. "A temporary barrier will help." Everyone around the table looked serious, weighing their options. The room fell silent for a moment, each person deep in thought, knowing they had to make a quick decision. As they discussed the lynx's unusual behavior, Nicole argued for a temporary barrier between the enclosures. "It's the safest option," she insisted. John hesitated but listened. "We can't risk it escaping," Nicole added. Others in the room nodded their agreement. "All right," John finally said, "but we need to move fast." The resolve in the room solidified, and plans began to form with urgency. Everyone knew there was no room for error. John hesitated, worrying about the impact on visitor experience and the logistics involved. "Will this affect our attendance?" he asked. Nicole shook her head. "Safety first," she replied firmly. "We can handle the backlash later." John sighed, glancing at the clock. "Fine," he conceded. "Let's make the call." The sense of urgency grew as the team debated the best course of action. Every decision felt monumental in that crucial moment. However, as they deliberated, the lynx began to agitate further, making guttural sounds that echoed through the zoo. "It's getting worse," Nicole noted, her voice tight. John looked out the window, eyes narrowing at the sight. "We don't have much time," he said. The animal paced more aggressively, its eyes darting like fiery coals. The staff exchanged worried looks, realizing the situation was becoming increasingly volatile by the second. The tension reached a boiling point when the lynx managed to slip past a faulty gate, prowling toward the aviary. "It's loose!" a keeper shouted, making everyone freeze. Panic set in as the animal crept closer to the unsuspecting heron. "Block its path!" Nicole yelled, running toward the scene. Radios buzzed with frantic instructions as staff scrambled to contain the lynx. The air thickened with urgency and fear. Panic erupted among the zookeepers as they scrambled to contain the situation. "We need a tranquilizer now!" someone shouted. The lynx moved stealthily, undeterred by the chaos. Nicole, along with other staff, tried to form a human barrier. "Keep it back!" she yelled. Staff members grabbed poles and nets, ready to intervene. The visitors watched in stunned silence, their excitement turned to dread. The air buzzed with tension and uncertainty. Visitors were hurriedly directed away from the scene, though many lingered out of curiosity. "Please follow the staff," an announcement blared over the loudspeaker. Some families quickly moved away, while others tried to catch glimpses of the unfolding drama. Children were tugged along, eyes wide with mixed fear and excitement. The zookeepers continued their efforts, a sense of urgency driving their actions as the lynx edged closer to the aviary. Nicole and a few other zookeepers armed themselves with tranquilizer darts, ready to intervene. "We need to be ready for anything," Nicole instructed, her face set with determination. Each keeper checked their equipment, making sure everything was in place. "Stay alert and aim carefully," one zookeeper reminded the others. The group positioned themselves strategically, prepared to act at a moment's notice. The sense of urgency was palpable as they watched the unfolding situation. The heron, sensing impending danger, took to the air, wings flapping furiously. It lifted off with surprising speed, its large wings cutting through the sky. "It's trying to escape!" someone shouted. The bird's instinct for survival was on full display as it soared higher, looking for a safe spot. The sudden movement caught everyone's attention, adding a new layer of tension to the already fraught atmosphere. Shouts and gasps filled the air as the lynx crept closer to its target. "It's going for the heron!" a visitor cried out. The crowd watched in suspense, eyes wide and breaths held. "Stand back!" a zookeeper yelled, trying to maintain order. The lynx's sleek, silent movements betrayed its predatory intent. Each step it took brought it closer to the heron, escalating the unfolding drama. By this time, a crowd of visitors had gathered at a safe distance, eager to see how the drama would unfold. Parents clutched their children's hands, eyes riveted on the scene. Some visitors murmured quietly, exchanging guesses about what might happen next. "Look, it's so close!" one child exclaimed, pointing at the moving lynx. The anticipation was thick in the air as everyone watched, entranced by the unfolding story. It seemed certain that a confrontation was imminent. "It's only a matter of time," someone whispered. The tension was nearly unbearable as the lynx crept closer, seemingly unfazed by the growing crowd. The heron maintained its altitude, circling above like a cautious sentinel. Zookeepers stayed on high alert, ready for any sudden moves. The air thrummed with suspense, each heartbeat echoing the waiting crowd's collective anxiety. Nicole aimed her tranquilizer gun, her hands shaking slightly. She steadied herself, focusing on the lynx's every move. "Hold still," she muttered, adjusting her grip. The pressure mounted as she lined up her shot. The crowd watched in hushed silence, aware of the critical nature of her task. Her breath slowed and her eyes narrowed. Despite the high stakes, Nicole knew she had to remain calm and precise. The lynx paused, aware of the growing audience but undeterred. It looked around briefly, then refocused on the heron. "What's it doing?" a young boy asked, eyes wide with curiosity. The crowd grew even more still, each person hanging on the lynx's next move. The zookeepers tightened their formation, ready to step in if needed. The air was thick with suspense, every second feeling like an eternity. Tensions were high as zoo staff and visitors alike held their breath. The intensity of the situation seemed to draw everyone in, eyes glued to the scene. "Stay ready!" Nicole called out, her voice steady yet urgent. The crowd's murmurs faded into a hushed silence, everyone waiting for the next development. Even the subtle movements of the lynx were enough to send ripples of anxiety through the onlookers. The heron, circling above, looked for a safe spot to land. Its wings flapped steadily, eyes scanning the ground below. "Where will it go?" someone wondered aloud. The lynx's gaze followed the bird's movements, calculating its next move. Visitors pointed upwards, tracking the heron's flight path. The zookeepers remained focused, ready to intervene at any moment. The tension in the air was electric as everyone anticipated the heron's landing. The heron made a sudden and unexpected dive, drawing everyone's eyes skyward. It seemed to sense the impending danger, moving with a speed that left the crowd in awe. Wings stretched wide, its sleek body cut through the air like a blue arrow, targeting the water below. For a moment, everyone forgot the lurking lynx as they followed the heron's surprising maneuver, captivated by its swift flight. As it soared back up, seemingly trying to divert the lynx's attention, the nimble predator launched itself at the heron. The lynx's muscles coiled like springs, and in an instant, it sprang into the air. Tight, calculated movements guided its powerful body towards the bird, as if the lynx had anticipated the heron's flight path. The spectators' breaths hitched, every eye trained on the rapidly closing distance between predator and prey. Gasps resonated through the crowd. Parents pulled their children closer. The air was thick with tension, the kind that makes one's heart race. "Mom, look!" a boy exclaimed, pointing at the dramatic scene unfolding above. Adults shielded younger ones, eyes wide and unblinking. Conversations halted, replaced by a gripping silence. The suspense was almost tangible, as everyone waited to see if the lynx would reach its agile target. The heron narrowly avoided the lynx's swipe, flapping its wings furiously. Its sudden, agile movements left the predator's claws slicing through empty air. The bird's wings beat with a desperate energy, lifting it just out of the lynx's lethal reach. The crowd collectively exhaled, the tension momentarily broken by this near miss. Down below, the lynx growled in frustration, eyes burning with determination, readying for another attempt. The lynx landed gracefully, unharmed, and prepared for another leap. Muscles rippled under its sleek fur as it regained balance, eyes fixed on the circling heron. "It's not giving up," someone whispered, barely audible. The lynx crouched low, its movements slow and calculated. Every spectator felt the predator's focus, a razor-sharp intensity that refused to wane. The tension ramped up again as it prepared to launch itself at the heron once more. Nicole readied herself to take the shot, her entire focus on the prowling lynx. She steadied her breathing, fingers tightening around the equipment. The noise from the crowd faded into a distant murmur as she zeroed in on the lynx. "Now or never," she whispered, her eyes narrowing. The lynx was a moving target, unpredictable and fast. Nicole's concentration sharpened, each second stretching as she waited for the perfect moment. The zookeepers had to act swiftly, guiding visitors to safer areas while attempting to corral the lynx. "Move back, please," one of them directed, waving groups away from the scene. Staff formed a loose line, each person ready to intervene. Nicole could hear their urgent commands, mingling with the worried murmurs of the crowd. With practiced precision, the team maneuvered, trying to contain the unpredictable predator before it could strike again. Nicole, her patience thinning, finally spotted an opening. The lynx paused for a fraction of a second, giving her the chance she needed. Without hesitation, she adjusted her aim, finger poised to release the tranquilizer. "This is it," she thought, blocking out the ambient noise. The crowd held its breath, sensing a pivotal moment. Nicole's eyes locked on her target, muscles tensed, ready to execute the shot that would change the course of events. She took her shot, but missed by a hair's breadth. The tranquilizer whizzed past the lynx, embedding itself harmlessly in the ground. "No!" Nicole gasped, quickly reaching for another. The lynx jolted slightly, sensing a near miss. Panic flickered through the crowd, a mix of frustration and renewed anxiety. Nicole's face hardened with determination. She knew she had to act fast. Each second counted as the lynx resumed its alert posture. A collective sigh of disappointment emanated from the crowd. The magical moment they hoped for slipped through their fingers. A young girl clutched her mother's hand tighter, and murmurs of concern rippled through the onlookers. Nicole didn't let the setback slow her down. She immediately began to reload, her eyes never leaving the lynx. The atmosphere was thick with anticipation and dread as everyone waited for the next critical move. The lynx, sensing the defensive stance of the zookeepers, hesitated for a moment. It paused, its sharp eyes darting around, evaluating the situation. The zookeepers used this brief pause to their advantage, edging closer with their tools ready. The air was thick with tension, everyone focused on the predator's next move. The heron, still perched nearby, seemed almost aware of this temporary lull in the chaos. This momentary hesitation by the lynx gave the heron a brief respite. The bird spread its wings slightly, as if gathering strength. Nearby, Nicole and her team prepared for the next wave. The visitors watched with bated breath, sensing the temporary calm. The heron took a few cautious steps on the branch, its eyes never leaving the lynx. It was a fleeting reprieve in a tense standoff. John, the zoo director, took charge and rallied his team for a coordinated evacuation of nearby enclosures. "Everyone, we need to clear the adjacent areas now," he ordered. The staff sprang into action, moving quickly but orderly. Radios buzzed with urgent instructions as keepers guided animals to secure locations. John's decisive actions brought a semblance of order, even as the lynx continued to eye the heron with predatory intent. The lynx remained adamant, eyes fixed on the heron now perched on a low branch. Every muscle in its body was poised for action, ready to pounce at any moment. The zookeepers maintained their positions, tools in hand, knowing they couldn't afford to let their guard down. Meanwhile, John coordinated with his team, ensuring that all enclosures were being evacuated effectively. The tension hung in the air like a thick fog. Nicole, determined not to let the situation spiral further, loaded another dart into her tranquilizer gun. Her hands moved with practiced precision, nerves steeled by years of experience. "Get ready, everyone," she called out, her voice steady. The team around her tensed, ready to support in any way necessary. As she prepared her next shot, the lynx's eyes never left the heron, its focus unwavering even in the chaos. As she lined up her next shot, a sudden noise startled the lynx and it dashed closer to the heron. The unexpected sound echoed loudly, making everyone jump. Nicole's finger hovered over the trigger, momentarily thrown off by the commotion. The lynx's swift movement towards the heron escalated the tension, leaving the crowd gasping once more. The zookeepers tightened their grips on their tools, preparing for the predator's next move. The heron, surprisingly agile, moved just in time to dodge the attack. With a swift flap of its wings, it shifted to another branch, narrowly escaping the lynx's claws. The predator's paws sliced through the empty space where the heron had been. Nicole quickly realigned her aim while other staff members adjusted their positions. The crowd watched in stunned silence, their eyes glued to the intense interaction. The scene seemed like a tense dance of predator and prey. The heron's elegant flutters contrasted sharply with the lynx's powerful, deliberate movements. Each dodge and swipe held the audience spellbound, every second more gripping than the last. Nicole and her team moved in sync, creating a barrier between the lynx and the visitors. The whole zoo held its breath, caught in the high-stakes ballet unfolding before them. The lynx began circling the base of the tree, its muscles taut and poised for action. It moved with calculated precision, eyes never leaving the heron. This tactic seemed designed to unnerve its prey, making it easier to catch. Zookeepers watched intently, their tools ready. Nicole took another deep breath, steadying her aim. Every movement, every breath was a rehearsal for the inevitable clash between hunter and hunted. Several zookeepers set up nets as a secondary measure, while Nicole took another careful aim. The nets, strategically placed, offered an extra layer of security. "Make sure it can't get past," John ordered through his radio. Staff worked quickly but methodically, creating a perimeter. Nicole adjusted her grip on the tranquilizer gun, eyes locked on the lynx. Every zookeeper knew that any misstep could escalate the situation further. This time, her dart hit its mark, striking the lynx in its flank. The predator yowled, stumbling slightly as the tranquilizer began to take effect. The zookeepers moved quickly, closing in with their nets as the lynx's movements grew sluggish. "We got it!" Nicole called out, relief palpable in her voice. The crowd exhaled, emotions ranging from relief to admiration for the quick actions of the staff. Cheers erupted from the crowd, but the zookeepers knew it wasn't over yet. The sound of applause filled the air, mixing with relieved sighs. John glanced around, eyes sharp, signaling to his team to stay alert. "We're not done," he warned, voice steady. The excitement of the crowd barely masked the tension among the staff. They knew a half-tranquilized lynx was still a potential threat, keeping everyone on edge. The lynx, although slowing, still had fight left in it. It struggled against the sedative, muscles twitching as it attempted to stay upright. "Stay back!" Nicole shouted, motioning for the crowd to keep their distance. The predator's eyes flickered, determination clear despite the tranquilizer's effect. The zookeepers remained vigilant, knowing that any sudden move could reignite the chaos. The crowd watched with bated breath, sensing that the danger hadn't fully passed. The heron, sensing the danger diminishing, cautiously descended, watching the lynx with wary eyes. Its wings moved gracefully, but its gaze was sharp, never leaving the predator. It landed softly, maintaining a safe distance. "It's coming down," a visitor whispered, pointing. The crowd murmured among themselves. Meanwhile, Nicole and her team advanced carefully, their focus shifting between the lynx and the observant heron. The tension hung in the air, palpable and thick. The tranquilizer started to take effect as the lynx's movements grew lethargic. Its steps became staggered, and its aggressive growls softened to mere whimpers. "It's working," John said, nodding at Nicole. The lynx swayed, eyes half closed, fighting the sedative's pull. The zookeepers watched closely, tools at the ready. They knew this was their chance to secure the animal before it could muster another burst of energy. The moment for decisive action had arrived. Nicole signaled to the other zookeepers to move in with the nets. She raised her hand, fingers spread wide as a clear command. "Now!" she called out firmly. The team responded instantly, closing in around the groggy lynx with practiced coordination. Nets unfurled and poles extended as they created a barrier. "Be careful," Nicole warned, eyes sharp. The crowd watched in anxious silence as the staff worked efficiently to contain the subdued predator. John coordinated with the vet team to ensure the lynx would be safely transported back to its enclosure. "Prepare the transport cage," he ordered over the radio. Veterinary staff rushed to gather the necessary equipment, readying the stretcher and securing the crate. "We need to move quickly," John urged. Zookeepers maintained their guard around the lynx, awaiting the vet team's arrival. The air was filled with a mix of urgency and cautious optimism. The visitors murmured among themselves, trying to piece together the unexpected turn of events. Conversations buzzed with half-formed theories and astonished comments. "Did you see that?" someone asked, eyes wide. Families compared their observations, attempting to make sense of the drama. The excitement from the cheers had shifted to a quieter curiosity. Staff members kept a watchful eye, guiding visitors back to safer areas. The scene buzzed with a controlled but palpable energy. The heron, now safely grounded, fluffed its feathers and resumed a calm demeanor. It took a few cautious steps, eyes still flickering toward the subdued lynx. "Look at it, acting so normal," a visitor said in awe. The bird dipped its beak into the water, a picture of serene elegance. The crowd watched, finding comfort in the heron's apparent return to normalcy. Nicole glanced over, allowing herself a small, relieved smile before refocusing. Peace seemed to return to the aviary just as medical staff arrived to check the lynx. The air, once thick with tension, now felt lighter. "Clear a path," John directed as the vet team moved in with efficiency. The lynx, now mostly subdued, seemed less of a threat. Visitors began to relax, whispers turning into relieved conversations. The heron stood as a calm sentinel, embodying the restored tranquility. Normalcy seemed to be within reach. As the lynx was safely transported back to its enclosure, zoo staff and visitors gathered around John and Nicole to hear an explanation. The group surrounded them quickly, eager to understand what had transpired. Curious eyes and attentive ears were focused on John and Nicole as they prepared to speak. The tension had barely subsided, but relief was palpable in the air as people settled in to listen. John took the opportunity to emphasize how important safe animal interaction is and praised his team's quick thinking. "What you witnessed today is a reminder that safety comes first," he said firmly. The visitors nodded, absorbing his words. Our team acted swiftly and appropriately to ensure the safety of both the animals and our guests, John continued, making sure everyone understood the gravity of the situation. Nicole revealed that the lynx had only recently been introduced and had not yet fully acclimatized to its new environment. We were closely monitoring its behavior, but clearly it needed more time to adapt, she explained. Whispers ran through the crowd as people processed this new information. The importance of acclimatization became clear, highlighting the challenges faced in managing new arrivals at the zoo. She added that the heron's calm under pressure was nothing short of remarkable. The heron's ability to stay collected saved its life, Nicole stated. The visitors murmured in agreement, obviously impressed. It goes to show just how instinctual and clever these animals are, even in unexpected circumstances, Nicole added. This perspective gave the crowd a deeper appreciation for the heron's innate survival skills. Visitors were captivated, realizing they had witnessed a rare and educational moment. "I never thought I'd see something like this," one visitor commented. Another nodded, adding, "It's one thing to read about animal behavior, but seeing it firsthand is incredible." The group shared similar sentiments, recognizing the unique experience they had just had. A conversation sprung up, focusing on the lessons learned from the day's events. Suddenly, a seasoned zoo visitor pointed out that the heron had used strategic flight patterns to avoid the lynx, showcasing its intelligence in the wild, a behavior rarely seen up close. "Did you see how it maneuvered? That was no accident," he noted. The crowd listened intently as he described the bird's moves. This insight deepened their understanding of the heron's response, adding another layer to their appreciation. The zoo staff recognized the incredible intelligence and strategic thinking of the Great Blue Heron. "It's not just luck," John agreed. "This heron used its instincts expertly." Staff members nodded, visibly impressed. The heron's clever tactics had given everyone, including the staff, a newfound admiration for its capabilities. "We can learn a lot from watching nature in action," one of the zookeepers remarked, sparking thoughtful nods all around. The heron's actions showcased specific flight patterns to outmaneuver the lynx. "Those loops and dives weren't random," Nicole remarked. She explained how each move had a purpose, intending to confuse and evade the predator. The visitors listened, fascinated by the details. "It's amazing how much thought goes into each action," one person said. This tactical breakdown of the heron's maneuvers added depth to their understanding of animal behaviors. Such strategic behavior is rarely witnessed in captivity. "We hardly ever see them act this way in a controlled environment," John pointed out. The crowd realized the rarity of what they had observed. Visitors exchanged glances, feeling fortunate to have seen such natural instincts at play. This realization made the event even more special as it showcased a glimpse of the wild, undisturbed by human intervention. This remarkable event left everyone at the zoo with a newfound respect for the Great Blue Heron's intelligence. "I'll never look at these birds the same way again," a visitor commented. Others echoed similar sentiments, their perspectives forever changed. As they dispersed, the conversation continued about the unexpected drama and the incredible wit of the heron. The atmosphere shifted from tense to one of awe and appreciation.